John Garr lived on his horse, noted Solomon Hill. He was a hunter, a scout, who was well acquainted with the Indian culture and a real cowboy. After the Garr family arrived in Salt Lake Valley, John drew a 5-acre lot in Big Field which he later sold. In September of 1848, he was sent out with others with wagons and supplies to assist the Saints come into the valley in Brigham Young's company coming from winter quarters. The next year, he was involved for a brief time in the Salt Lake militia of the Nauvoo Legion, assisting Captain Scott and his company in an encounter with the Ute Indians in Battle Creek Canyon, 40 miles south of the Salt Lake Valley. In December of 1852, John returned from San Bernardino in a Massa M. Lyman and Charles C. Rich company, which company was sent to California to assist in the settlement of San Bernardino in the spring of 1851. In addition to herding cattle on the island, he also herded cattle with John C. Doodle on the Jordan River 4 miles west of Lehigh. He also assisted his father in building his home on Antelope Island. The Logan Journal contains an interesting write-up of John Garr's activities in 1854. It says, late in the summer of 1854, a young scout, John Garr, who had been adopted by the Indians who had accompanied them on a fishing trip to Soda Springs, Idaho, reported his experiences to Brigham Young. At the time of his adoption, the Indians had given him the name of Napawanna, meaning blanket foot, due to the fact that he had 6 toes on his left foot. He said he had seen a fine place to graze cattle. Upon entering the Willow Valley, the Indians had gone straight to the fine springs where they had made their camp. The valley was covered with tall bunch grass and wheat grass up to a man's shoulders. There were many streams of water, and cold streams were plentiful. John Garr and his brothers, William and Abel, drove their cattle to Cache Valley in 1855 and at various other times. In 1860, after their claim had been surveyed and they were able to settle on it, they built a 2-room log cabin. This was where John T. Garr lived, ranched, herded, and bought and sold cattle until his death. The first irrigation waters was taken from the large spring on their claim known as Garr Spring. Today, 130 years after the Garr brothers discovered it and filed claim to it, the Garr Spring still produces a good supply of culinary water as well as irrigation water for the city of Melville. When Cache Valley was officially organized in April of 1857, John T. Garr was appointed as one of the first selectmen in Cache County. A picture of John T. Garr, the first selectman, hangs on the Chamber of Commerce in Logan, Utah. Thereafter, he was elected and or appointed magistrate of Millville, election judge, fence viewer, and road supervisor. The latter position he held for several years. With others, he helped to establish a sawmill in Millville Canyon. John joined the Cache County militia of the Nauvoo Legion, organized September 5, 1861, under the command of Colonel Ezra T. Benson. In 1868, he was called along with others from Millville as a missionary to help out the immigrant companies coming to Utah. John T. Garr raised a son, Johnny Garr, of Indian Caucasian ancestry, but was not known to have ever married. However, John T. Garr's descendants wrote that he married a Shoshone Indian maiden named Susan, according to the Indian law and custom, but no record is found in our vital records. The Shoshone Indians lived a half-mile to the east of Elkhorn Ranch, an encampment on the river, and as previously noted, John T. Garr was well acquainted with the Shoshone Indians. He spoke their language, knew their customs, and was adopted by them. After his death, the settlers in Cache County were in disagreement as to whether the son, Johnny Garr, was actually his or not. Johnny Garr had married Elizabeth Ann Holtz and had given John T. Garr several grandchildren whom the settlers claimed he loved very much. In fact, he actually expanded his house for the grandchildren to live with him after Johnny's death. The son was killed accidentally while homesteading on part of the property later known as the C.L. Anderson Ranch in Blacksmith Fork Canyon. A set of twins was born to his wife after his death. The courts concluded that Johnny Garr was indeed John Turner Garr's blood son. The case was settled on the evidence that each of the Garr brothers had a set of twins born into the family. The settlement of the property allowed Johnny's Garr's widow, who lived with her father-in-law after her husband's death, to build a home of her own and to move out of the property, conditions that had been her lot after John T. Garr's death. So I read some more about it, and when Johnny Garr died, his cattle was mixed in with his father's cattle, and then of course his wife Elizabeth and Abel's wife Eliza, they both took care of Johnny Turner Garr until his death. But after his death, that's where the siblings got involved, and Johnny's children were not given the inheritance, and it was after an appeal that they got the inheritance. And there's lots of stuff on that you can read on the Garr probate hearings. However, and going on, it was said of John T. Garr that he was famous in the early days as a hunter and a scout, and was a hero of many thrilling episodes connected with the founding of Cache Valley. He spoke several Indian languages and told legends of their tribes. He was a wonderful horseman and very popular with children. He always led the march in the children races and at the children's dances held on Christmas afternoon. The children loved him and called him Uncle John. Historians consider him a colorful pioneer and a quiet, reserved man who was a friend of the Shoshones. They described him as wearing long hair with a long beard, and true to his long training as a herdsman, he also rode a horse wherever he went. He was a true pioneer.